Alright. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Uh, bagi yang beragama Islam, kita mulakan dengan surah Al-Fatihah. Baik. For this morning, we continue our discussion under the topic of information system for independent demand. For the independent demand, so we start with the forecasting subtopic of forecasting. So what is forecasting? Forecasting is a process of predicting a future event. And based on this, some of the underlying basics of all business decision, forecasting has been used in predicting the production output, predicting the inventory requirement, and predicting for the staffing personnel, and also predicting to growth of the business. For example, developing a new facilities for production process. So forecasting has been used as in many purpose, also in the forecast for the technology, forecasting the technology for the future technology also has been also used forecasting technique to support or to assist company organization in developing their strategic planning. As type of forecast, for example, here we have economic forecast, which address business cycle, which include also inflation rate, money supply, housing start, and also we have a technological forecast that predict rate of technological progress, and also include about the impact of development of new product. The impact of development of new product can be details in the forecasting about the raw material requirement, and also for the forecasting for the demand based on the new product. And specifically in the demand forecast, forecasting play a significant role to predict the sales of existing product and services. To predict sales of existing product and services. Forecasting also play a significant in the strategic important in the strategic business or organization, include human resource, capacity, and supply chain management. And this forecasting have a time horizon that we can divide into three horizon: short range forecast, medium range forecast, and long range forecast. For the short range forecast, normally the forecasting is be done for the up to 1 year and generally less than 3 months. This include forecast about the purchasing, job scheduling, workforce, level, job assignment, and also production level. For the medium range forecast, the time horizon for the medium range forecast is between 3 months to 3 years. Sales and production planning budgeting is under the medium range forecast. And for the long range forecast, normally the company we forecast for the 3 years above. And these include the new product planning, about the facility location, and also for the research development. There are 7 steps in forecasting. First is determine the use of the forecast, select the item to be forecasted, and determine the time horizon of the forecast, select the forecasting models, and gather the data and make the forecast and validate, implement the result based on the forecasting. In the reality, forecasts are seldom perfect because we cannot get the exactly same as the output from the forecast. But forecast is a better approach and technique as a guideline for company to crafting their strategic planning. And the most technique assume that underlying stability in the system. So most technique in the forecasting assume that the environment factor, the external and the internal is stable. So, and also for the forecasting, product forecasting on the product family and aggregated forecast are more accurate than individual product forecast, which is mean that if we would like to have more reliability of the forecast should be done for the product family and for the aggregated demand from the customer, not for the individual product forecast. Because for the individual product forecast, the demand will be highly fluctuates and random. So it is difficult to expecting what is the reliable demand from a customer in the future event. There are numbers of forecasting approach that can be used in the crafting the business strategy. Like we have here a qualitative methods that use when situation is vague and little data exists. This include a new product and also a new technology. And qualitative method also involve institutions or experience. For example, here we do the forecasting sales on internet. And we also have a quantitative method that use when situation is stable and historical data exists. So we have information about the past demand from our customer. So we use the past demand or historical demand from the data, from historical demand from customer, and based on the historical data of demand from the customer, we do the forecasting. So normally for the quantitative method, forecasting has been done for the existing product and for the current technology. And always, quantitative method involve mathematical techniques. For example, we have here forecasting sales for color televisions. Or right now, might be the most appropriate forecasting sale for television is whether uh, the demand is higher for the smart uh, TV or higher demand uh, for the uh, LED or apa lagi jenis TV yang dah saya pun tak mahir sangat kan. Quantitative method can be we can use a number of quantitative method to do the forecasting. First, we have a naive approach and moving average and also exponential smoothing and also a trend projection. And these four quantitative method can be categorized as time series model. And for the associative model, we have linear regression. We have a linear regression. For the time series forecasting, we need to set off the space numerical data which obtained by observing response variable at regular time period. And based on this data, the forecast has been done solely on the value that we have from the historical data. And we assume that factor influencing past and present we continue influence in future. Jadi maksudnya di situ bila kita gunakan time series forecasting, kita akan gunakan data-data yang lepas dan kita hanya menggunakan data itu saja, data permintaan daripada, contohnya data permintaan daripada customer, kita gunakan data itu saja untuk membuat peramalan pada masa hadapan. Peramalan permintaan pada masa hadapan dengan andaian bahawa data-data ini akan mempengaruhi mempengaruhi permintaan customer pada masa hadapan. So we have four type of time series component. We have trend, cyclical, seasonal, and random. And for the trend component, the trend is persistent, whether upward or downward pattern, and changes for the trend is due to the population, technology, age, culture, and etc. And typically, the trend, the time horizon that happen for the trend is several years duration. Sepanjang tempoh beberapa tahun, kan? Itu adalah untuk yang bersifat trend komponen. Maksudnya di sini peramalan tersebut sama ada dia akan berbentuk upward atau downward pattern. Sama ada fokus tersebut akan menaik ataupun menurun. Jadi semua ini adalah disebabkan oleh populasi, sama ada populasi, teknologi, umur dan juga budaya, kan? Baik. For the seasonal component, we have a regular pattern of up and down fluctuation. Maksudnya dia akan ada turun naik. Kalau kita tengok trend tadi, dia hanya ada, kalau dia menaik, dia akan menaik sahaja. Kalau dia menurun, dia akan turun saja kan. Tapi for the seasonal seasonal component, dia akan ada turun naik kan. Biasanya the fluctuation in the seasonal component ni is due to weather and custom, and is occur within a single year. Biasanya ianya berlaku dalam tempoh 1 tahun. Seasonal ni kita boleh tengok banyak contoh lah kan. For example, untuk ada apa dia, says for hari raya for example kan. Jadi hari raya tu berlaku kalau setahun, kalau bagi orang Islam setahun 2 kali kan. Jadi dia akan ada wujud pattern seasonal untuk permintaan yang tinggi pada musim hari raya tersebut dan akan turun selepas itu kan. Begitu juga contohnya kita kata seasonal ni permintaan berkaitan dengan peralatan pakaian sekolah kan. Jadi pada akhir tahun sebelum buka sekolah tahun hadapan tu dia akan ada permintaan yang banyak terhadap keperluan peralatan dan perkakasan sekolah kan. Jadi dia akan wujud secara bermusim. Itu yang dimaksudkan dengan seasonal component. Cyclical component, repeating up and down movement, sama. Dia ada movement dia tu sama seperti seasonal, tetapi ianya tidak berlaku dalam tempoh setahun. Dia akan berlaku biasanya akan berlaku setiap 5 hingga 10 tahun. Kalau yang paling jelas kita tengok di sini adalah berkaitan dengan contohnya up and down in global economic kan. Up and down global economic normally it will happen every 10 years kan. Dia akan berlaku setiap 10 tahun kan. Saya ingat masa saya habis belajar diploma dulu tahun 1998-99 kan. Jadi pada tahun tersebut berlaku kemelesetan ekonomi, dan 10 tahun selepas itu 1999, 10 tahun selepas itu dalam tempoh masa yang lebih kurang sama 10 tahun berlaku kembali kemelesetan ekonomi. Jadi dia akan repeat pengulangan tu akan berlaku setiap 10 tahun kan. Dan biasanya ianya adalah memberi kesan. This cyclical component will affect the business cycle, political and also for the economic factor. Affected by business cycle, political and economic factor. Jadi apa yang berlaku terhadap cyclical component ni, trend dia tu adalah disebabkan oleh kitaran perniagaan, political dan juga economic factor. Kalau if we look based on the business cycle, kalau kamu ingat lagi kan, if you remember that we have learned in the production operation management in crafting the vision and mission for the companies kan. When we crafting the vision and mission for the companies, for example for the missions, the company we set about 10 years to achieve the developed mission. So after the companies have achieved their mission, they will come out with a new mission. So all the strategic business planning we change toward the new missions and objective goal of organization. So this will impact to the forecasting of the demand from the customer. So dia akan wujud cyclical component di situ. And random component, erratic and systematic residual fluctuation, and random component berlaku kan due to random variation or unforeseen events, and normally for the random component happen in short duration and non-repeating. Jadi we cannot explain why what is erratic movement of demand from the customer. So it is, but it is happen in a short duration. Dia akan berlaku dalam tempoh yang kita kata dalam tempoh yang singkat lah. Jadi random component ni kita tak dapat kenal pasti, we cannot recognize what factor that influence the changes in demand from the customer, kan? Jadi kita tak dapat kenal pasti. Dan kita tengok di sini approach di dalam time series forecasting, iaitu naive approach. Naive approach ini agak simple, quite simple for the naive approach. We assume that demand in next period is the same as demand in most recent period. For example, we have here in January sales were 68 unit, and then we can assume that the sales in February also will be 68 unit. So naive approach is very cost effective and efficient for the certain time, for the some time. Naive approach is very cost effective and efficient, and it will be a good starting point, especially for the new product, in the market. So it is a good starting point, because we don't have much information about the historical data demand from the customer. And we also have a moving average method. Moving average method is a series of arithmetic means used if little or no trend. If normally moving average method has been used as a technique in the forecasting when we assume that the projection of the forecast is little or no trend. And moving average method also used often for the smoothing that can provide the overall impression of data over time. So the formula for the moving average, we have moving average equal to total demand in previous periods divided by periods and periods. For example here, for the moving average, so this is an example of 3-month moving average. This is example of 3-month moving average. We have information about the actual sales from January to July. For the January, we have 10 unit, February 12 unit, March 13 unit, April is 16 unit, May is 19 unit, June is 23 unit, and July 26 unit. So we going to using the moving average, 3-month moving average, to do the forecast for next coming demand from the customer. So the forecasting demand, we will start at the month of April. Why we start with a month of April? Because we're going to use historical data, 3-month historical data, January, February, and March, to predict what is the sales in the April. So we have here 10 plus 12 plus 13 and divide by 3. Why do we need divide by 3? Because all this data is coming from the 3 month. It's on the 3 month. Well, so we be based on the three data respectively from the January, February, and March. So we need to divide by 3. So we need to divide by 3. And for example, if we like to forecast the sales in the May, so the data involved in predicting the sales in May is data in month of February, March, and April. So we need to total all of the actual sales in February, March, and April, 12 plus 13 and plus 16, and divide by 3. So this is how the process of forecasting using the moving average. Simple moving average. Okay, any question for the simple moving average? It is not necessarily we using the 3 month moving average. We also can use 4 month moving average or 5 month moving average, or based on quarterly of the historical data. Okay. And quite sophisticated of technique, similar to the moving average, is weighted moving average. The weighted moving average used when some trend might be present and all the data usually less important. So we assume that the older data is less important compared to the recent data. So the weighted will be allocate higher for the recent data compared to the older data. Example here that we have, let's say we apply a weighted for 3 for the last month and 2 for the 2 months ago and weighted of 1 for 3 months ago. As shown in the example here, the weighted is larger compared to the weighted here is larger for the recent month compared to the older data that we assign only weighted with 1. So here, for example, in January, we need to multiply with, we start with the March. We're using the 3-month weighted moving average. So we need the data from 3 months previous data. In March, we have 13 sales, multiply with weighted 3. And for the February, we have 12 sales and multiply with the weighted of 2. And the last one is January. We need to multiply with 1. So, as we see here, the recent data is assigned with the larger weighted compared to the older data, January, we assign with the smallest weighted here. So after we total up all the operation here, and we need to divide with the total of weight. We have a total of weight here, 3 plus 2 plus 1. We have 6, so we need to divide by 6. And this process will repeat for the next forecasting on the month of April. So we will assign, sorry, this process we repeat for the forecasting for the month of May. So we will assign weighted with 3 for the April, and weighted of 2 for the March, and weighted of 1 for the February. So after we total up the multiply process, and we need to divide with the total weight that we assign for each of the data. So this is an example of weighted moving average. And do we have exercise here? No, we don't have. Okay, I try to get data, so we can do data of for the forecasting. So we can do the exercise for the simple moving average and weighted moving average. Untuk forecasting, tengok apa soalan ni berkaitan dengan berteriman moving average. Exponential. Sekejap ya, saya cuba masukkan data dalam Excel dahulu. Januari, Februari. So based on this data, we do the 3-month moving average. sharing. So we switch to the Excel file. Okay, 3-month moving average. 3-month moving average. So we're going to develop a forecast of 3-month moving average. Human moving average. So example that we discussed in the previous slide about moving average, the starting point of forecasting for moving average will be based on the what is the that what is the month that take into account to formulate the next coming forecast of the demand. So based on the question, we are required to develop a 3-month moving average. So we need to have 3-month historical data to develop the next month of the forecast demand of the customer. So if 3-month moving average, we will start the forecasting at the April. We will start the forecasting at the April. Let's say we change the 3-month moving average here. Let's say we use a 5-month moving average. So we will start forecast at the month of the January, February, March, April, May. We will start at June. So the first forecasting demand of data here will be in June because we need historical data of demand, historical data of 5 months, which include January, February, March, April, and May. Yeah. So back to the question that require us to develop a 3-month moving average. So based on this data, so we will do the forecasting. For example here, 0.9 plus 1.1 plus 1.3, and total of this data will be divided with 3 months. So we have a forecasting demand of 1.1 for the April. The forecasting for the April will be 1.1. So all this process will repeated until the end of the March. We can forecast for forecast demand in March here. We also can forecast March here. So the forecasting demand for the March, no.
Doctor,
Yeah.
if 5 month moving average divide by 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Alah, okay. Terkelip tempat lain pula dah tadi. Kena buat lain. Okay, let's say we do the 4-month moving average. 4-month moving average. If we do the 4-month moving average, the starting point of the forecasting demand will be in May. Will be in May because we need historical data of 4 months. Historical data of 4 months starting from January, February, March, and April. So we need to include January. Sorry, we need the data from January, data from February, data in March, and also data in April in order to have a forecasting demand with a 4-month moving average. And because of we have 4 data here, so we need to divide by 4. We need to divide by 4 because we have 4 historical data or we have 4 months of data. For the 3-month moving average, we divide for 3-month moving average, we divide with C4, C3, C3. Okay. So if we using 4-month moving average, the starting point of forecasting demand data will be in April. If we using the 3-month moving average, the starting point of forecasting demand data will be in April. So the starting point will be based on the how many historical data will be used for the technique of moving average. Okay, ada soalan berkaitan dengan moving average? Yang ni. Okay, let's say we using the 4-month moving average. So the data will be from January, right? January with 1.3 plus 1.1 in February, right? And 0.9 from March plus with the April 1.6, and we total up all is the historical data and divide by 4, and we have 1.2. Is it clear? Boleh? Jadi simple je moving average ni. Kita faham nama dia kan. Bila kita sebut moving average, nama dia tu adalah moving. Moving tu adalah berlaku pergerakan kan. Pergerakan data kan. Bila kita nak fokus kepada bulan yang seterusnya, data tu akan bergerak seiring dengan pergerakan bulan yang seterusnya. Dan data itu adalah berdasarkan average. Berdasarkan purata. Sebab tu kita kena bahagi. Kan? Sebab tu kita kena bahagi. Sebab nama dia pun moving average. Pergerakan data yang perlu dibahagi dengan jumlah data yang kita gunakan. Kan? Jadi kita ingat bila sebut moving average, maksudnya ada pergerakan data dan ada juga operasi bahagi untuk dapatkan nilai average. Kan? Itu kita namakan dia sebagai moving average. Pergerakan data adalah berdasarkan kepada requirement forecast tersebutlah. Sama ada 3 month, 4 month, kan? 5 month, kan? Jadi kalau 5 month pula, kita akan gunakan 5 data. Jadi dia akan berlaku pergerakan 5 data untuk forecast next next month punya forecasting. Dan kita kena bahagi dengan 5 data, kan? Baik, boleh. Baik, kita tengok soalan yang seterusnya. Susah betul lah. Sekejap ke sana, sekejap ke sini. Patutnya macam mana gunakan dia ya? Okey. Data yang sama. Kan? Data yang sama. Tetapi dia kata di situ, we using the same data, but we will develop a forecasting moving average with the weighted moving average, 3 month weighted moving average. And the allocation of weighted is based on 0.6 for the recent data and 0.3 for the last 2 month data and 0.1 for the last 3 month data. Okey, kadang-kadang dalam persoalan dia tak bagi pun, kan? Dia tak bagi tahu pun. Dia kata for the most recent demand ni dia tak bagi tahu, ataupun dia tak bagi tahu seperti mana yang saya kata tadi. 0.6 is for recent data, 0.3 for 2 month last 2 month data and 0.1 for 3 month last data. Kadang-kadang maklumat tersebut tak diberi. Okay, sometimes the question will not mention that, for example, 0.6 for the recent data, 0.3 for the 2 month last data and 0.1 for the last 3 month data, kan? Jadi berdasarkan dia cuma bagi maklumat seperti ini saja, kan? Moving average we weighted of 0.6, 0.3 and 0.1. Jadi macam mana kita nak menggunakan data tersebut? Kita nak apply pada bulan pada data yang mana, kan? Jadi kita ingat balik dalam slide berkaitan dengan forecasting tadi, dia kata weighted yang besar biasanya dia akan allocate pada data yang terkini, kan? Dia akan allocate pada data yang terkini dan weighted yang paling kecil akan allocate pada data yang paling lama, kan? Okey. The tip is to determine the which weight we assign to which data. We can use tips of the largest weighted will be assigned to the recent data, and the smallest weighted will be assigned to the oldest data. So we use that tips to determine which weighted will be assigned to which data. Okay, we back to the Excel file to do the 3-month moving average. Mana dah keluar tadi. Stop sharing. Share. Saya tak ingat. 631. Okay. So we have a weighted for each of the data will be applied for the recent data with margin of 0.9. So 0.9 multiply with the 0.6 plus February 1.1 multiply with 0.3 and January 1.3 multiply with 0.1 and divide by what?
3
Bahagikan dengan apa?
3.
3.
3. Why do we need divide by 3? We supposedly divide by total of
Months.
months. We using weighted moving average. So we need to divide with the total of weighted, not total of data. Only simple moving average. For example here, 3-month moving average. We need to Allahu Akbar. Saya pergi escape. Kena buat lain semula, kan? Okay. Only for 3-month moving average will be divided by number of data, but for the weighted moving average, we need to divide with the total of weighted. So the total of weighted here, what is the total of weighted here? 0.6, yes, 1. Normally, if we have weighted with the, sekejap ya. Baik, biasanya kalau kita gunakan pemberat berdasarkan titik perpulahan di sini, kan? Ada titik perpulahan di sini untuk weighted kita. Jadi nilai pemberat dia akan jadi 1. Jadi sebenarnya kita tak perlu bahagi pun. Sebab ini mewakili, contohnya 0.6 adalah 60%. 0.3 adalah 30%. 0.1 adalah 10%. Jadi kita tak perlu nak bahagi pun untuk weighted. Jika kita dapat weighted sebegini, kita akan gunakan total pemberatnya adalah 1. Jadi bila 1 tu sebenarnya tak perlu bahagi pun, kita dapat jawapan yang sama, kan? Baik, kembali pada sini saya dah type dah tadi, terpadam pula, kena buat semula, kan? 0.9 multiply with 0.6 plus 1.1 multiply with 0.3 plus 1.3 multiply with 0.1 and divide by 1. So we have forecast for April based on the 3-month weighted moving average. The April will be forecast with 1,000, kan? 1,000 of demand. So this process we repeat. Forecast ni kita akan repeat, yang 1.3 kita padam, kan? Kita dapatkan April 0.6. Six zero. Okay. Okay. So this is answer for the 3-month weighted moving average. This is the example of how we do the calculation for the 3-month moving average. Sekejap ya. Control. So this is the example how do we do the calculation for the 3-month weighted moving average, where the recent data March with 0.9, we multiply with the largest weighted here, 0.6, and the second recent data, last 2 month data, February 1.1 multiply with 0.3, the second largest weighted here, and 1.3 data in January will be multiplied the smallest weighted here 0.1, and we divide by 1. Actually, we can remove the operation of apa tu, divide by 1 here, because the total of the weighted is will be equal of 1. So let's say if we remove 1 here, we will also get the same answer. Kan? Kita akan dapat jawapan yang sama sahaja kat sini. Kan? Baik. Kat mana kita tadi? Sama juga untuk contoh pengiraan di sini. Katakanlah Ctrl C. Letak. Multiply with 0.6. Okay. For the forecast in May, we using the largest weighted 0.6 to be multiplied with the recent data of month of April 1.6, and 0.3 for the data in March, and 0.1 for data in February. So the answer will be 1.3 here. So this process will repeat until the last month, the last forecast of the month in March. So at the March, based on the 3-month moving average, the answer will be 1.3 of demand from the forecast demand of the customer. So I think that's all for today for the forecasting technique. So we cover the forecasting technique under the time series analysis, 3-month moving average and moving average and weighted moving average. So for the next coming class, we will discuss exponential smoothing and linear regression analysis. Mana gitu tadi? Okay, for the next coming class, we will discuss on the technique of exponential smoothing and measuring the error in the forecasting technique, and also discuss one of the technique under the associative forecasting, which is a linear regression analysis. And discuss about the function of department in the organization, how this department function, how this department activities can support the effectiveness of inventory management. So that's all for today. For Muslim, we